Hi, I'm Empress Rose. Welcome to your reading. This is my very first live reading, and then it apparently started, and then also wanted me to do a bunch of permissions before it started. So after it started, anyway, it's a learning experience for me, and hopefully it'll be an enjoyable experience for you. I decided to try this way because my phone is having some trouble holding on to videos, and it's been a little complex. So we're going to try it this way. We're just going to jump into the tarot, and this is a general reading. It's for anybody. It could be about any topic. And then, of course, take what works, leave what doesn't. I've already shuffled, so I'm just cutting the deck here. From the bottom of the deck, the overall energy, Muse of Inspiration. And personally, I really like this for my very first live reading. The Muse of Inspiration, the energy of a master. Inspiration obviously talks about inspiration. It talks about creativity. It can talk about sexuality. It can talk about spirituality. It's all those things. And so it talks about a person, a leader of those things, a master of those things. It could be a creative leader, a leader on a creative team. It could be referencing a spiritual leader, but this would be one that it is a leader, and it could be boss energy, but it's not boss of like a very traditional organization. It's a boss of some other type of organization, not necessarily a company. There's like some light here, passion for sure. There's history here as well. There's sort of some history that creates a creative history. This intuitive leader, they know their path. And people follow them. And there's some sort of rhythm to what they do and how they do it. They're very intuitive, though. They lead from intuition. They can be very inspiring, very exciting. Yeah. That's cool. Okay. Past, present, inner landscape, what's at issue, environment, to-do list, possible outcome. I like this. This is very fun. And it's interesting. I won't be able to read any comments or anything because I can't split my attention like that. But it is really interesting to like feel the real time, and it connect just real time rather than, just me off in my own space. It's interesting, different dynamic to play with. All right, in the recent past or the past, we have the Lovers. I'm not sure with these wings coming in as some sort of repeated history. I'm not sure that this is the recent past, but there was a decision point, a decision made on how it's the Lovers card. It's like a divine drawing together, but you still have so much choice here. And the decision is usually, are you going to live out of fear or are you going to live out of love? There's been some sort of opportunity has come up, and and there's like a natural draw, a natural pulling together. I often think of that as far as like the whole world sort of functioning as a brain with these neurons and these synapses that sort of almost reach out to each other. Like a flame will reach towards something. It's just burning, 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 and then you bring like a source towards it, and it kind of seems to reach towards that. Just like any of those videos of synapses happening where things come together. So it's like it's this principle of co-evolution, or things coming together, things merging, and they're both seeking each other. Like Rumi says, the thirsty seek the water, but the water also seek the thirsty. So there's something about that. There's a drawing together, this very natural pull together, this natural draw to each other, almost intuitively towards something or someone. We have this overall idea here, but this too could be like a synapse coming together, that energy, that electricity that connects to each other. But there's always just this decision of, are we going to allow this connection to something we love or someone we love to continue? So there was a decision made. Or there was a decision point, and a decision should have been made. towards growth, towards development, towards connecting these two ideas, or connecting to something as part of the growth, right? It's interesting because the growth is both connecting together and also cell division. So then we have the Empress card here. This is your current situation. Mother, source energy, tapped into some sort of source, tapped into, we talk about the vortex. Here's all the dreams, all the wishes held within, the capacity to make your dreams come true. Being the mother, the producer, very fertile. The Empress, she does not work, I want to say she doesn't work solo, but she does work solo. It has very solo vibes to this, as far as like, I'm going to create my own world here. I'm going to envision my reality and create the reality. You currently have the capacity, or are building your own life, your own reality, worlds, universes, your own world and your own universe. And there's a sense of mothering that into being, something into being, a creative force. That's what's interesting, is this muse of inspiration, the Empress. Both of these are very creative forces. Very productive, self-productive, but also like in a protected space. Protecting yourself, protecting your dreams. There's a comfort here too. There's a relaxedness of confidence, you're confident in what you're doing right now, in yourself, in your capacity perhaps to create something and do something. It's almost like you had this opportunity and you're connecting with it. I don't know if you're doing it with another person though. Oh, I meant to, well, it's alive. I can't like stop and pause and go get something, but I think I can reach over here. What was the decision that was made with these lovers? Like, because I can't tell from the Empress. The Empress is working solo, but she's working on the life that she loves. Maybe not with someone she loves, but she's definitely working on her visions, her dreams, creating worlds for other people. It's not that she's just out here like, I'm going to create my own. She's creating her own life, but there's also like always with the Empress a benefit to others. All right, let's see what decision was made with these lovers, or tell us more about the decision point in the past that we hit. Did we go towards? Did we go away? Did we, oh my gosh, we produced a lot of cards. The Sun, I feel like, okay, but it's very clearly the Sun in reverse. There's our little Sun card, or Sun in reverse. It's fascinating. Clarity. But it was in reverse. Maybe you didn't see the decision point. Maybe you didn't realize you were even making a decision. But the Empress has a lot more intentionality than someone hitting a decision point and not even realizing that they were making a decision. All right. In your inner landscape, your hopes or fears, 5 of inspiration. So this is very conflicted energy. Oh, wow. We have like what I would call 2 queens and 2 kings here. The Empress having some very queen energy, especially this Empress, right? She's like in her own little world. She's in her own thing. And that's one thing about the queens, is that they're very, I don't want to say they're self-absorbed, but they're focused on their own path and their own life. And the kings are more leadership focused, which is about other people and working in groups and creating the world that way. But the Empress and the queens are more internally focused. So you feel very conflicted. This card has not being able to see other people's perspective, not even wanting to look in a mirror, but maybe you're worried about conflict. You're worried that you won't be, it could be possible that you're afraid of not being understood. You're afraid of possibly not being seen or understood or heard. It could also be just about inner conflict. There's just like parts of yourself that don't feel aligned, or some part of yourself seeming to want this, some part of yourself seeming to want that. You're not all facing the same direction. Like I'd love to see the chariot here of like getting all of these very different warring parts of yourself to all start moving in the same direction and want the same thing. But you may have some different things that you want. You might be afraid of conflict. Some of these are like they don't want to see, some of them are bragging. You may be thinking about conflict from the past. But there's a lot of internal conflict going on, which is interesting because this Empress has you sort of relaxed in a creative mode, feeling confident. But maybe you've got just these parts back in the back of your mind, just like, what about this? Oh my gosh, what about that? Or they're not going to understand. They're not going to see me. There's just some inner conflict here. What's at issue? This is interesting because these Muse cards don't come out up or down. They just are. So we have the Muse of materials. So what's at issue could be a person. This would be very much more traditional boss energy. This is someone who has been successful. They've followed the path, they followed the route, they followed the known path of doing things and how they do things, and they have reaped the rewards. This could be a boss in your midst, and it doesn't really say whether this person is problematic or not problematic. Like, because it's an issue, we could have maybe someone that hasn't been as very successful in something, or as successful as they hoped to. There could be someone who followed all the rules but didn't get the rewards that were promised to them. This could be also just a boss-like energy, but it's someone who followed all the rules. So what's interesting is this Muse of materials and this Muse, these are two kings here, Muse of inspiration. This one just goes with their intuition. And they can be more charismatic. This one's like very I, daughter, T crosser, methodical with their thoughts, methodical with how they move things. So these could be two leaders with these are definitely going to be two leaders with very different visions of how to move things forward. So, and maybe these are two leaders that you have within yourself. Since we have this conflict, I can see these two leaders, unless their roles are well defined, I can see these two leaders not necessarily being in alignment with each other on how we accomplish. How do we get to the future? How do we get to what we want? This one's all intuition, just shoot from the hip, let's go, passion, fire. This is a very charismatic speaker. This one is, oh my gosh, if this boss stood up at a meeting and did a speech, it would be awful. It would just be very boring because that's not their skill set. They achieve and accomplish through plotting, pacing, rule following. So these could be part of the conflict. And what's interesting is you have this internal conflict. So it could be like you've got these two leadership vibes within you and they are not working together. There's two parts of you. One of you is you're creating a world, and part of you is like, and we do that very methodically. We do that step by step. We have a budget, we follow the budget, and we move this way. And this one is more like, I just feel like this is going to be the best decision. I can't explain it. But both of them have had a lot of success doing it their way. So in your environment, you have 8 materials. So this could very much be a work-related reading because this is work. There's a lot of work to do, a lot of work to be done. There's day-to-day work. So this is sort of in this day-to-day mode, this aspect of possibly yourself or somebody else is really going to thrive. This could really be a boss in a very traditional job here that you're having to deal with that maybe has created some inner conflict or some inner fears or things that are, somehow difficult because it has created sort of this inner conflict. But in your environment, there's a lot of work to be done. It's kind of repetitive, but it does bring home the bacon. It does do that. So yeah, this almost seems like work. And this Lovers over the work, like you made some sort of choice at some point, or somebody did, and you didn't even realize you were making the choice. do this job or to have this job or to some aspect of the job. You made a decision, but it wasn't, you didn't realize that. So your to-do list, I love it. It sits right under the Empress. Just you keep doing you. This is intuitive. So this would be like if we have this sort of like war within between like how do I do this like methodical thing, or do I do this more, do I move more intuitively? How do I run my life? And right, we were talking about the Lovers here. How do we run our life? Like out of fear or out of fear, or out of, do we go towards what we love, or do we just like, I don't want that to happen, so I guess I better do it this way, even though I hate doing it this way. So do we go with what we love or what we fear? Like, how do we fuel our decisions? What motivates our decisions? And then we sort of have these warring factions. We can only be successful by plotting day by day, following the rules. Forget the rules. We're just going to go for it and dive right in here. Very passionate or very planning, right? This rose stuff always reminds me of like a farmer, and they have to be very self-disciplined and very there's routines, and if you do not follow those routines, you will not get a harvest with farming. But there are other things that that's not the case. So you're being asked to go intuitively. If you're having some sort of war within yourself of, okay, I have to slow and steady wins the race, or also, you know, when the wind's at your back, go, 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 right? So you're being asked to more or less like be internal. Like both of these, they're very internally focused. Their eyes are closed. They're not going to listen to traditional advice. They understand that that might not be actually what they're needing right now in order to create their world. You're in this creative space. You're creating a world, maybe even a vision for your future. And this is telling you go the intuitive inspiration route. At least be aware of your intuition. Maybe not, you know, intuition and impulsivity and all of that can all get kind of jumbled up here. You know, is it our intuition, or are we being, you know, paranoid? There should be calm feelings with intuition. It shouldn't be like, you know, fear mongering. I don't think that's a good use of imagination or your intuition. It's a common use and we all do it, but see how calm she is? She's just moving with her own vibe here. She's not even trying to tame anything. There's a connection to the divine. She trusts it. She moves with it. And her eyes are closed. She is not paying attention to what you think and this advice and that advice. She's going with her own self. She's going with her own divine connection. It's a strong connection. And her actions reflect her intuition, what she's receiving, right? She's getting this direct white string right into her third eye here. And then these are sort of the other strings where she's allowing this information to move her hands in reality to help her create the reality that she's creating her future. She's asking for this she's allowing that to do its job. And then we do have the King of Inspiration and the Queen of Inspiration, a very dynamic couple. This could also be a couple. This could also be like a long time ago, rather than choosing someone that really ignited you, you chose someone that was a practical choice. So oftentimes with the Lovers too, we get like the practical choice that society says is the right one, that you've been taught is the right one, that you've been this is the way to do this. You may have gone with a safe bet instead of a passionate bet, and that's often what the Lovers talks about too. So you could have had, maybe you didn't even realize you had two options, but this is the one that was real. The one that you chose was a more practical option versus a passionate option. This is the one. This is like stick with your passion, stick with your creative path. Really paying attention to how you feel. Making your decisions very authentically with your, I want to say like your intuition, but also like what feels very, not correct, but I don't want to say right, because sometimes like really, if we're like really angry, what feels right at the time can be the worst thing possible. So maybe you made this Lovers reference as like a choice between passion and practical. You made a practical, safe decision at some point, but now you're definitely being asked to make more decisions out of intuition. And it's not wrong to make practical, safe decisions. Some people really thrive that way. Some people, that's their natural place. That's exactly what they need to be doing. Those are their best decisions, and those are the ones that make them feel safe and feel good. And I can see that making some people feel alive. But this is, you know, go with your inspiration. Go with intuitively. If you're at war with yourself, pick your intuition. You can intuitively move through this. I think there's a lot of confidence here too with this Queen of Inspiration, especially sitting under this Empress. It's very powerful. A lot of confidence, self-confidence, trying to get that, and that comes from experience. And then possible outcome, we have Knight of Emotions. So we have communication. Someone communicating with you out of growth, out of a place of growth, a message about emotions, right? It's emotional, a very heartfelt message. But with this spiral back here, there's something about having grown a lot. Having grown to the point where they can talk about this. All right, I'm going to pull a couple more cards here. All right. Oh, treasured memories. This is like, remember how I got the Lovers card? And I was like, Mo, I don't know if that's the recent past. It could be the distant past. Treasured memories. This card always reminds me that you can remember the event without necessarily holding on to the person, people. You can remember the emotion. You can remember the idea. You can remember, you know, how exciting something was back then. It's a treasured memory. That has something to do with this. And it's sort of like Six of Cups energy. Something that brought you a lot of pleasure. I think we are getting more like, you went with a very practical choice, but now you're being asked to be more intuitive. But I think there's something in this Lovers card here that felt more distant than just recent. Recently you made a decision between, you know, whether to follow your heart or follow your head, or whether to follow the rules or go with what you feel is correct here, or you feel is the right one. There's some pleasant memories back here. And maybe, I want to say maybe you're creating treasured memories right now, but I'm not even sure that's the case. But you've never forgotten something from that. And maybe even like from that decision point. Okay, I think this is my favorite deck of all time. What's it called? The Sacred Forest Oracle. Did not connect with it at first, but... Oof. Aspen Spirit, courage. I think we have a lot of courage coming in here with this Queen of Inspiration to follow your own intuition, especially if there's any, because there's sort of a energy around you that wants practicality, that's demanding practicality. But Aspen Courage talks about community and courage from community, courage in community, because the aspens aren't just like one individual tree with their root system, their whole root system. It's almost like you've seen the trees fall over and then the branches go up from there. It's almost like that, except there's covered in like ground. So they're all connected to one root system. So they're almost like one tree. I don't think that's the scientific definition of what is going on, but that's sort of our layman's term is the aspen forest is actually just one tree with a bunch of different shoots coming up. So that's a little bit of this courage is found in these connections, these interconnections with other people, finding strength in other people. There's also a sense of sanctuary here and being safe, and that can help with the courage. And of course, the courage also has to do with like fear, because it's literally the same. It's not courage if there's no fear. So I think the courage of your convictions is what I'm hearing here. The courage to know yourself, the courage to be yourself, the courage to follow your own intuition in service of creating the life that you want. It is going to take courage because there's a lot out there. So then we have guardians of the land protection, which is what I was feeling with this castle in the woods. Is a place of protection, a fortress that you're very protected in. There's also, I like to think of these as synchronicity cards. So we have blue butterflies. And we also have the stag here in Guardians of the Land protection. I think taking courage, I think your courage can be founded in an idea of like feeling protected and feeling safe. In some aspect can give you courage in other aspects of your life. Something too about possibly land or home. Courage and protection. I think too with this treasured memory, we've definitely protected some sort of memory or something from our past and our history. All right. Well, let's see about these guys. What do we have next here? That just wanted to come out. Okay, well, I'll let you do that because you went. Show the world the real you. So authenticity, full moon in Aquarius. So I want to say the authenticity here of this decision of how you're moving through the world with this Queen of Inspiration too. And Aquarius, the water bringer, the emotion, thinking about our emotions, thinking about our feelings, and I think being very authentic about something. And then we have, it's time to take action, new moon in Aries. So the new moon aspect here talks to me about like not seeing the results of your action, not being able to predict your actions. And it's time to take action. So it's very much of the moment here. But there is something too, I think, of intuiting when's the right time to move, when's the right time to take action and to go forward here. When's that, like, this is like permission, anything you wanted to do, wanted to start. You don't know where it's going, but this is sort of permission to start it, to move ahead. This is also very strong leadership, and we actually do already have two very strong leadership cards here, as far as like, you know, taking the ram by the horns and really moving forward with something really, I don't want to say taking control, because there's very much an intuitive vibe about that, which is not about controlling something. It's about working with something. The Queen of Inspiration is a little bit more chariot energy too. And then let's remember with this Knight of Emotions, there's a message here, a very heartfelt message. I think you know it. And maybe with this treasured memories and the sense of the lovers being from the past, it could be, I mean, I'm not a big fan of like telling everybody all the time that something from your past is coming back. I mean, that is sort of like the churning motion of just life in general. These things keep popping up. And we've got the spiral, and each time that thing pops up, or that person pops up, or that situation pops up, you've learned more, and you've grown more, and you've developed more, and maybe you even have more courage, and you know better how to deal with it. But it's time to take action, but I think we're really moving with intuition. So when your intuition, so this would be maybe something to put in the back of your mind, and when it comes up, you might hear that it's time, this time now. So it could be something where it's time now for that thing. I'm also seeing an echo of these ram's horns on this horse here. So it might be time, the time, I think the timing will be right for this person to communicate with you. When they do communicate, it is the right time. It is now the right time. That's, I mean, right. I think, I don't know how that's, it makes sense in my mind. Like it's the right time when this person comes, when you receive the message, it maybe puts you into action mode, and it is the right time. And because it is a new moon, there is something where it's nothing, and then there's like this, I'm seeing like a blankness, not hearing anything, and then it's go time, and then this starts some sort of action event, this communication of appreciation or love, and it could be related to work. It could be something about that, like a communication about appreciation of your work, or maybe it's you communicating something. But anyway, the spiraling horns here and the spiral behind this horse here, these are all, there's a similarity there in like some sort of growth cycle, or having reached some sort of cycle in that growth, having reached a similar point as you have in the past, but this time there's a lot more growth, and this time there's more courage to say what needs to be said. This time you don't feel as much fear. You feel more protected, more safe. You don't feel the fear that maybe you would have felt before. And your to-do list is basically like trust yourself and your intuition. So it's time to take action. I'm going to put that in a caveat of trust yourself and your own intuition first and foremost. And then when you know it, when you see it, you'll know it when you see it. But you don't, I think that's what I'm getting with that new moon, is like, you don't see the time right now, but when you see the time, you'll know that that's the time. This is the time to move towards this thing that maybe I didn't go towards what I love, what brought me alive, the sun, right? So if we're thinking of ourselves as little amoebas, then we like, and we're moving towards what brings us more life and what kills, and away from what kills us. Like, oh, that feels harmful and not good and dehydrating. I'm going to go over here. Or okay, this feels actually kind of comfortable. So I'm thinking of an amoeba moving through life and trying to stay alive, and doing that through just sensing what feels good and what doesn't feel good, what feels right and what doesn't feel right. And so with the sun in reverse over those lovers card, I think maybe you went with a decision that didn't feel right, but felt reasonable and well supported by everybody around you. But now you're being asked to sort of not pay attention to those what you learned, or what not, to move in a different way, moving in a different way, much more intuitive way, rather than following the thing. And I think that's what we see with the sun in reverse, is that you didn't choose to go towards what brought you alive, the sun. The, if you're a plant, you naturally navigate, and somehow we humans kind of tamped that down. So when you're a plant, you naturally navigate towards the light. Like my house plants all want to lean over towards the one window that's got some light, and my, the trees will, weave through all the other trees above them to get the light. So it looks like in this past, you didn't choose to go towards the light, and you maybe worked out of fear, and that's why you're getting courage. Have courage now to move towards that light, not away from it. So Wild Kuan Yin, we have messages. Oh, again, Knight of Emotions, messages, communication. Oh, I want to rewrite this one. I probably just should like put a little sticker over it, but we'll muddle through the best we can. Play to create. Do you dream of more happiness, well-being, and love? That is a high frequency dreams. Such dreams become reality when we align ourselves with a matching frequency. There's a way to raise frequency to become more magnetic to opportunities, to the right people, solutions, and helpful guidance. To bring your dreams to life. For now, let go of the struggle and embrace the way of play. Absolutely. You have a dream, you have a vision, you're creating a life for yourself. This is struggle, and some people really thrive that way. Just, it's not struggle for them. This is more intuitive, letting go of the struggle and embracing the way of play. Oh man, I think this is one problem with the live, is I can't pause and go cough here. You just have to watch me struggle. So this is interesting. Here we have messages coming in that are going to help guide you. But I want to say, like, this reminds me very much of of like delusional journaling, right? Like you journal like it's 1 to 5 to 10 years in the future. You already have everything you want. How do you feel about it? Are you excited? Um, Talking about like how like how much where you live and who you live with or don't live with or um, all of these things. So this can be a way to sort of envision the future, which we're already doing. We have actually a lot of this supporting sort of some sort of practice like this, as far as like, journaling out as if you're already there, as if you are 1, 5, 10 years in the future with the things that you want now. What's that feel like? What's that look like? You can get really specific. You can actually start weeding out some self-limiting beliefs like, hey, well, wait, I have this position at that job. I don't even want that job. Why is that part of my delusional journal? And I think the term delusional really helps us like embrace what we actually want and where we actually want to go with something and stop tempering it with be realistic, which is what I think the decision we made in the past was be realistic. Be safe, take the safe option. So it can often like help us sort of sort through those sorts of ideas. It might be a good New Year's practice. So play to create, play around with your vision for the future and make sure it rings true for you. Yeah, because you're creating your future here. Okay, so well, there, I finished my first live on YouTube. It wasn't that bad. I'm sure my coughing was absolutely wonderful, but I also think you are aware that I am a human that coughs sometimes. So, and I was a little nervous, but I think it went okay. And for those of you commenting, my phone is tiny, and I'm not too proud to admit my phone is tiny, and I just cannot split my attention like that. But thank you I saw one comment, so that was fun. Anyway, ciao, thanks for watching. Bye. Now let's see if I know how to turn this off.